From weird geoglyphs in the desert to rock alignments to help male pilots in these weird alien-looking structures, we found quite a few things in the desert that we thought you should be cool. Here are 9 strange things in the desert that are worth checking out. The Quartzsite rock alignment. This is just a pile of rocks that spell out the word quartzsite, along with a little arrow at the bottom. It was originally thought that this was used to help bomber pilots.
But they wouldn't be able to see it.
Right, because their letters are only like 11.5 feet tall, so they would be blurry at 18,000 or whatever feet that bomber pilots fly at. As it turns out, these were to help early male pilots find their way across the country, which makes sense because we have explored those male aviation arrows before, if you have remember seeing that in a past episode. So it was kind of cool to see in person. It's been there for 70 plus years.
Yeah, it was cool. And, you know, it was to help them get their bearings, right? Because everything out here looks the same. So you get yourself a little bit turned around and now you need a little help getting back on track. So it shows you which way is north and where you are. So it was pretty cool. And the letters are huge and they're like so perfect.
Yeah, they are perfect. Perfectly straight lines. You can tell it was done by somebody who knew what they were doing. Right in that same area, you can find the bougie Fisherman.
Is that actually how you say that?
The Bouse Fisherman Intaglio. It resembles a human figure with a spear in his hand and some fish at the bottom. I guess the story of this is that it's supposedly the god Kumastamo, if I'm saying that correctly, and he put his spear in the ground and that created the Colorado River. So I think that's the story behind this. Nobody knows exactly when they were done. They're one of like 300 different intaglios that can be found scattered throughout Arizona and Mexico. We checked out a few last year or the year before last out towards Midland area. It's just kind of a cool thing to see. There's a plaque there. It's fenced off. You can really see it better from the air.
Right.
But seeing it on the ground, it's kind of cool to know that somebody sketched this out a long time ago, and kind of the origin still remains a mystery. Skull Rock. I think there's a Skull Rock in like every state.
Probably.
This one is located off Kofa Queen Canyon Road in the Kofa Queen Canyon in the Kofa Wilderness Refuge. And fun fact, Kofa stands for King of Arizona, which we didn't really know about till recently. But anyways, Skull Rock is kind of cool. Not an impossible road to maneuver out there. Probably you should have high clearance SUV at least.
Maybe, or just be prepared to take your time because the road is rocky.
Right.
I mean, we didn't even go into 4-wheel drive.
Right, but we're also in a Jeep, so if you're in a regular vehicle, your mileage may vary, but it is a very bumpy road to get out there.
But it is a beautiful drive.
It is. Going through some of the canyon. Once you get up through there, you'll enter some of the canyon, and you're just kind of navigating through washes and then coming across this rock. The first time we went out there was somebody set up camp there.
Camp directly, like, in the skull of Skull Rock.
And it's not the first time we've come across a landmark or something that you drive to that you end up finding somebody camped out there. At any rate, it's cool to see. It probably looks better depending on this time of day that you're there to get the shadows, but it clearly looks like a skull.
Yeah, so it's cool.
It's definitely worth checking out. The Castle Domes Museum. This one is located going towards Yuma. It's a really cool museum. They have all kinds of mining artifacts from the Castle Dome mining district, which was popular back in the early 1860s, I believe is when they started this. They, when they started mining there, they found evidence of the Native Americans that had previously mined there, and they actually set up a place 18 miles southwest on the Colorado River called the Castle Dome Landing, is what it was later to be called. So then the Americans came in later and started to claim the area, built a landing down on the river, connected it up to the Castle Dome mining district. And the mine was active for several years, getting copper and iron out later in World War II. But I think it's kind of interesting, the history of the area, and that there was originally stuff set up there before we came in and just took it all away.
Yeah.
But the Castle Dome Landing is down by the Colorado River. That is now submerged under the water from Imperial Dam at this point now. But the mining stuff is still up there. Somebody bought it in 1994 and then turned it into a museum. It's full of like all kinds of weird artifacts. Remember that's the one that had like the writing, the room with all the signatures from...
Oh, for the military.
Yeah.
Yeah, military people could go in and sign on the walls and the table and the door and the windows and it was full.
Yeah.
Everything was full. It was really neat to see.
They've done a good job at trying to preserve most of the stuff. You know, when the mine shut down, all the stuff was just left there. So they have like all of the artifacts, and people have donated stuff over the years. So it's definitely worth the, I don't even, $7-10 I think it was to get in. I don't think it's very much at all, but it's worth walking through and checking out the stuff that they have there. The Yuma Proving Ground Open Air Museum. This one is going towards Yuma, down 95. They have a lot of artifacts from the Yuma Proving Ground, which is like the largest artillery place in the United States. I guess it's still active. All the military stuff is tested there. General Motors, I think, built a facility out there to kind of test equipment for the military, for the stuff that they built for them. So it's kind of cool. Everything is just, it's open air, so there's no top. Kind of walk around and see the missiles.
You can see part of it, like the spot that we went to that has the military vehicles and stuff like that. But then there was a sign outside of the museum that says you have to do a check, because the museum was closed the day that we went, so we just walked around the stuff outside. But whatever that building was there.
Oh, that's right.
If you went there during the week, then you have to stop in and do your checkpoint stuff.
Yeah, just make sure you're like,
you have your ID,
legit person and stuff. But
yeah,
it's kind of cool to see that stuff up close. Some of it's really, really big, so I think the kids had a good time looking around at that stuff. So it's definitely worth checking out when you're down there towards Yuma. The domes in Casa Grande. This one was, I think, our favorite of the strange things in the desert.
Scary. That's super scary. Sounds in the back. Super scary.
The freaking echoes are weird. It reminds me of that place, the radar dome that we went to.
Yeah, it's cool.
These weird domes were built in 1982 by a tech company that was going to build circuit boards in preparation for the big .com boom. But I guess they went bankrupt and they defaulted on their loan, and then the bank came in and took the property. There were originally supposed to be 7 buildings, but there's only 5, and they actually never moved in to do anything with these buildings. They're circular, they're strange looking. There's like evidence, they say that there's evidence of satanic rituals going on here and animal sacrifices, but I don't know. I learned that it was actually built on an Indian burial ground. And so there's this article that was saying that a lot of the problems that the company was having was because a medicine man cursed this land, and so they built it on top of there, and that's at least one of the stories. But the acoustics in there are very strange. I'm not sure if you're supposed to be in there, but there was like 4 or 5 other cars there, and there was like groups of people there.
Yeah.
At the same time that we were walking through.
You do need to proceed with caution. I'm sure that they would prefer that people stay out. But it is falling apart.
Yeah.
There's holes in the ceiling, walls are crumbling, so something could fall at any time.
Oh yeah.
So you just need to be very cautious if you do go.
So if you do go, just remember you're not supposed to be in there. But it's a good place to go check out if you were going to accidentally venture on the other side of the fence. The Lost Dutchman Museum. We happened upon this place while getting our re-gear done in Phoenix and our driving spree of 500 miles that we got out in 2 days. We just happened to stop by and go in and check out. I'm glad that we did, because the place was amazing.
Yeah, this was probably one of my favorite stops. The amount of detail, the whole open air part of the museum, tons of information.
Yeah.
And the volunteers, everybody was amazing, happy to tell their story.
They had a big like railroad track set up, which I thought was one of the coolest parts about this place. Very intricate details, all built by volunteers, all wooden.
If you have kids and you go, they have a little scavenger hunt that you can do, which was really cool because it gets you to slow down and really look at the displays.
Yep. Because
you're looking for tiny little figurines that are mixed in.
Yeah, like a Where's Waldo, but on a life-size scale.
And then you get a prize and a story at the end, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. The inside of the museum is really cool, too. It goes over the whole Lost Dutchman mine, the fabled Lost Dutchman mine in the Superstition Mountains. It includes a bunch of history about that. It's definitely worth going to. They have a huge old mill thing. I don't know what that thing was.
Oh, yeah, for crushing the ore and getting out the parts that they wanted.
Yeah, it was built in like the 1800s, and they dismantled it and brought it here and put it back together. It still runs like every Thursday?
I think so, but on that, when they got it and they brought it to the museum, I think only one of 20, 10, I don't know how many parts there are, moving parts, but only one of them worked.
Oh.
So it took like 25 years and however many hours from the volunteers to get it working again.
Wow.
And they have the entire thing back to its original working condition.
Yeah, it's a really cool place to go to, especially to get a grasp of the history of the mining stuff in and around Arizona and the Superstition Mountains. Mm-hmm. So if you find yourself around the area, it's definitely worth stopping through. Laura's Shoe Memorial.
Oh, yeah.
This is known as the Rice Shoe Fence. Mm-hmm. I forgot what the name of the road is. It's way out in the middle of nowhere in Southern California. And there's just a bunch of shoes hanging from the gas station, hanging from the fence. We went and just so happened across a man whose brother who had just recently passed away, mm-hmm. and they were putting up a memorial for him because it turns out that, well, you'll just have to listen to this story.
My brother just passed away in November. She was coming to visit my brother at the river 40 years ago. She was with another schoolmate. She was in the passenger seat sleeping, and her friend fell asleep at the wheel. They crashed right here.
Oh.
We had her airlifted. They had her airlifted out to Phoenix, and she never made it. But the whole idea with the shoes were, there used to be a sign here. Her favorite thing was shoes. So we made this weekend because I don't think a lot of people know what this is about. And my brother just passed away, so we just made a cross for my brother because she had a thing for my brother, but they never got to see each other.
Gotcha.
So that's what we're doing. My brother, yeah.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Thanks for the backstory.
A lot of people don't know that. I mean,
right.
But it just got to be a thing where people were hanging shoes. Right. Yeah, they were both my brother and Laura were from Culver City, California, and she was on her way to go visit my brother.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We're just trying to make this visible so people know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's been over 40 years. Yeah.
It was really lucky that we ran into them while we were out there because you try to look up the history of it and there's not really anything. It's mm-hmm. just shoes on a fence. We don't know why. But one thing I was reading was that it started as an underwear tree, or there used to be an underwear tree there, and then it burned down.
Oh, that's what burned down.
And
okay, I remember reading that too.
Somehow it switched from underwear to shoes. But I don't know where the underwear tree fits into Laura's story.
It just adds to the strangeness of the strange things in the desert. But it was really cool to hear that story first and foremost. I mean, it sounded like he knew what he was talking about. I don't know why he would just blow smoke, but so there you have it. There's the real story of the Rice Shoe Fence, is Laura's Shoe Memorial. Mm-hmm. In that same area is also the ghost town of Midland. This is one of our favorite unique places to stop through. We've covered this a couple of videos back. It's actually in our first video. So you have to go back and watch that for even more footage of Midland. But this is from boom to bust. They were there in the 50s mining gypsum. They wanted a different type of gypsum. The mine shut down, and then slowly but surely the town started to crumble mm-hmm. with it. This place is really unique because all the foundations of the houses are still there. There's a tiny museum.
It's my favorite.
That is full of history. It looks like an abandoned trailer, but it says Midland Museum. Mm-hmm. And you can go in there, and they have all kinds of pictures and property maps and just old nostalgic memorabilia from the area.
It's people whose families used to live there, mm-hmm. and some of the adults who lived there when they were kids. And there are binders of notes and family photos and just them giving their story, giving their history of the place. And the maps and the aerial photos from when this place was in its prime, and you can see the factory, and it's just I love that museum. The time and the heart that they've put into it.
Yep, they're really keeping a really good they're really taking really good care of it. When you enter the ghost town of Midland, there is a sign that says private property, no trespassing, but at the same time there's a sign that says Midland Museum always open.
Right.
So we talked to some people last year who were kind of there watching over the area. They're more than happy to have people stop through, just be respectful of the area, leave the artifacts where they are.
Right.
But it's definitely worth stopping through if you're going to be in the area. There is a ton of other strange things in the desert that were on our list, but we just didn't have time, or we didn't make our way down there to go see. But so we may end up having a part 2 to this video one day. But the desert is a strange and boring but unique place that is full of life if you know where to look.
If you know where to look.
If we've been way out in the washes and have seen more wildlife here in the desert than we have seen in a long time in any other state. So you have to stay here long enough to kind of get the specialness and to grasp the appeal of it. I guess it kind of grows on you in a way.
It does. And, you know, to go to some of these places that are a little farther away, you know, because these places weren't all super close to where we are. But the farther out you go, the more dirt roads you take, the more cool stuff you find. So it's worth searching and exploring.
Absolutely. So thanks for following us on our adventures. We will be sure to take you down more of the dirt roads to show you more off the beaten paths on our journey far from ordinary. Oh, damn. I was going to try to bring in Far From Ordinary, but you just can't. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, and we will see you on the next one.